Yeet. See ya. And welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today's video will be another in our series of high priority targets. Today, specifically, we're looking at Gear 13 characters. So what this means is that we're looking at characters that absolutely need your Gear 13 above all else. We're going to break it into a couple of different categories, one of them being speed, one of them being health, offense, and then kind of a conglomeration of different things. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so we're going to be looking at the top 15 characters that we need to get to Gear 13. So normally we would have a top 10, but it was like pretty much impossible to limit just to 10. So we're going to be doing top 15 here, and we're going to have a bonus 5 at the very end that are kind of hybrid players that really need Gear 13 for various reasons. So with that being said, our first group of 5 here are characters that need Gear 13 for speed more than anything else. We have Echo, and not to be confused, this is the Echo for the Bad Batch, not the 501st. Echo really needs the Gear 13 primarily because of the speed bonuses that he's getting. He gets a bonus 20 speed from the Gear 13 relic level, essentially. If you guys aren't familiar with how this works and why speed is so important on him, feel free to check out the other video that I've done on modding and speed and how much characters need speed. Echo is one of the primary ones that we talk about in that video. All right, moving on to our next one, we have Malgus. Malgus, you can see I actually have modded for health. Health is super important for him, without a doubt. But the speed is also very important for him because of his kit and how his kit works. He's kind of an exception to the rule in this category. The speed that he gets through his kit is super important and impressive and makes a big difference. But getting him up into relic levels, specifically Gear 13, really makes a difference both for his health and his speed. So again, super important character to take up. This is kind of a cheater one, but it's the best I could do. Next up, we have Mara Jade. Mara Jade is purely speed, unlike Malgus. So with her, you want to get here to Gear 13 as soon as possible. She's just going to gain, again, that 20 bonus speed. She starts that turn meter train much in the same way that Echo does for the Bad Batch. She does the same thing for the Empire. Next up, we've got Piet. Now, I should say the Empire under Mara Jade is in reference to the Palpatine-led Empire, possibly Starkiller if you have Starkiller as well. But the Piet team is the Imperial Troopers, not the traditional Empire under the Palpatine lead. Although he could be used for that, not as effective. At least not in my opinion. Piet, though, the reason you want to Gear 13 him is for a couple of different things. Obviously, it helps for his ships and your requirements towards Executor, but also him getting that extra 20 speed gets him out in front of the opposing team and really allows that Imperial Trooper turn meter train just to run rampant. So you definitely want to get as much speed on him as possible, including taking him to Gear 13. Last up in our group here, we have Resistance Hero Finn. He, again, is super important for the Resistance team. Mostly not so much because of speed and turn meter trains, unlike the other ones that we had in this group, but more so because of the offense and retribution effects that he spreads throughout the team. If you guys aren't familiar with that, you can check out some of the different videos out there on how this mechanic works. Just know that, again, him going first in that Resistance team is very important. Obviously, second to GL Ray if you happen to have a GL Ray. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead and move down to our second group. So this is a group that primarily benefits from getting offense through Gear 13. Certainly the speed doesn't hurt them, but they really benefit a lot in terms of getting offense. Now, unlike the first group, you're going to see a lot of these characters are high-level relics, mostly because, again, you get massive offensive boosts the further up the relics you go. So this might be a group that you don't want to stop at Gear 13. You want to continue on into higher-level relics if you can. So obviously, first one here is Darth Vader. He gains so much offense when you take him up into the relic levels, and he just hits like a truck with his calling blade. If you guys aren't familiar with it, again, check out all the videos that are out there on him and how much damage he can do. It's really impressive. The Mandalorian. So the reason, one, obviously, with him you want so much relic level is because of his offense. You can see I only have him at relic 1 right now, unfortunately. That will be changing in the not too distant future. But the other big reason that having him at gear 13 or higher is so important is because of his ship. So when you get Razor Crest and you take him up into relic levels, Razor Crest really starts to hit a lot stronger, has a lot more survivability. So you're kind of getting, you know, a dual bonus, so to speak, with him and getting him up to the relic levels. Next up, Han Solo. Han Solo, man, does he hit hard when you get him up into relics. He gains so much offense, and if you mod him for offense, you can see I have him modded for crit damage, but I also have a lot of offense built into his kits here, or his mods here. He just slaps so hard, folks. Absolutely take him to relic as soon as you can. You're really going to see a big improvement in his damage output if you do. Last but not least, Dark Trooper. Holy smokes. We talked about Piet and how incredible he is with the troopers. We'd be remiss to not talk about Dark Trooper. When you get him up into relic levels, I only have him at relic 5. I would love to take him to relic 7. The amount of offense that he gets allows you to take out teams that you never thought possible. The speed of Piet and the troopers gets you the turn meter train. Dark Trooper is what actually allows you to execute the turn meter train. He comes in and he will two-shot, which is basically one turn, Malik. Like, it is impressive. If you haven't done this before, folks, put this on your priority list. I took a long time to bring him up to relics. I really wish I hadn't waited so long. He's amazing. He's absolutely amazing. Oh, whoops, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said the last one. He's not the last one. Jedi Knight Anakin is another one that benefits greatly from offense. He also benefits a lot from speed, too. He's kind of a little bit of a hybrid. If you run him under a Qui-Gon Jinn lead, you're going to want loads of speed on him. I do have a ton of speed on him, but you're also going to gain a lot of benefits on the offensive side with him as well. He was actually my first Relic 7 because he hits so hard once you get him up into the gear 13 levels and above. Definitely will see a lot of benefits from taking him to gear 13 or higher, especially under a Padme-led team. If you guys have Padme, that's where you're going to really see the offense benefits in particular. All right, now, with that being said, we can move on to our third category, which is characters that benefit due to health, primarily. So Jolie Bindo here, kind of a hybrid situation again. All of these guys have a little bit of hybrid in them to some degree. Jolie benefits from getting a ton of health, and it really benefits his kit as a whole. Now, him getting some extra speed doesn't hurt either. But the primarily thing with him is that when he gets all that health, he starts to get so thick and so tanky, and it really adds a lot of survivability to that Jedi Knight Revan team, or any team that he's under, quite frankly. If you have him running under a JML, he's really tanky as well because of that. So, lots of benefits to giving him your Gear 13, folks. He was actually my second Gear 13 Jedi, simply because GMY, Grandmaster Yoda, was a requirement for JMK, so he was my first. But after him, I took Jolie up next immediately because he's so good at the relic levels. Next up, we have Crew. Crew, unfortunately for me, is one of the few on this list that is not at Gear 13, and that's simply because I haven't worked on First Order yet. He gains massive amounts of health, though, and if you guys don't know his kit with his Zeta, he basically becomes near unbeatable because he's constantly gaining so much health back anytime he's damaged. So if you mod him for health and you have him at relic level, he is going to be extremely tanky. Very good tank. He even works as a standalone tank because he's such a good character and has such a great kit and is so tanky at Gear 13. Take him up as soon as you guys can if you are working on First Order, folks. Alright, old Daka. She is one of my favorite relics, just because the Night Sisters become such a dangerous team when you get her to extremely high levels of health. You can see I only have her at Relic 5. I would not hate taking her up to Relic 7, just to make her even thicker. But when she gets to Gear 13, she gets massive increases in health, especially as you take her up into the higher relic levels. You continue to see all those massive gains in health. Basically, the way her kit works, though, is that she's always gaining more and more health every time somebody dies. And you guys know with Night Sister teams, people are dying left and right. So she becomes extremely tanky, and loaded up with health. So the more you have on her, the better. Grievous. Grievous was probably one of my first relic characters because he gains a ridiculous amount of health once you get him up into the gear 13 and above relic levels. His kit, if you guys are unfamiliar, is completely based around health. His damage is entirely based on his health. Offense means absolutely nothing. So you want to get him up and healthy as fast as possible. Get him up to those gear 13 levels ASAP, folks. Just don't get emphysema like him. Next up, we have Nest. So Nest does gain a little bit of benefit through her offense that she gains in relics, but primarily it is her health that is important here. When she's at gear 12, she's really pretty feeble. You can kill her pretty easily because her health pool is so low. But once she gets up into relics, her health pool really becomes much, much, much deeper, and it's much more difficult to kill her because of the way her kit works. I love having her. I have her modded completely for tenacity so that she can solo if I need her to. I actually use her primarily on defense, though, under a Mando lead, and she works very well under that Mando team. So again, get her relic, folks. She actually was my very first relic of all time, very first person, just because I didn't want to do what everybody else was doing. So I wanted to be different, and I love Nest. I don't regret it at all. It was a great decision. All right. With that being said, we're going to move into our bonus content that we've got here. And these are characters that are kind of a hybrid. They benefit from multiple things at being at gear 13. First one is General Skywalker. He gains a ridiculous amount of offense, a ridiculous amount of protection, and just hits like a truck when you get him up into relic levels. If he's at gear 12, he's just not the same character. You can easily counter him with a lot of different teams if you don't have him at relic levels. Get him to relic ASAP, folks. Jedi Knight Luke, same thing. Tons of protection and tons of offense output for him. So if you guys aren't familiar with his kit, you want to load him up with protection. It's very, very important for him. And obviously load him up with lots and lots of offense. Fives, he actually benefits a lot from defense. But he also gains a lot of benefits in terms of health, protection, offense, oddly enough, the way his sacrifice kit works. So you definitely want to get him up to relic levels ASAP. I would say that he's probably one of the top 501st to take to relics. General Skywalker is obviously number 1. Then I would argue it's probably Fives, followed by Rex just for speed purposes. Next up we have Bosk. Bosk, man, does he get so much tankier when you get him at the relic levels. He also, not only does he become super tanky from his defense and from his protection and from his health pools, but also you want him to have lots of speed too, because typically you want him to go first on your team so that he gets out his tank, he gets frenzy, and then the whole process starts working a lot better for the bounty hunters. So again, kind of a mixture of things that he really benefits from. Darth Sion. Darth Sion is primarily a protection benefit, but he does gain a good bit of defense as well when you get him up into the relic levels. So again, another character, you can kind of see a theme here, folks. These guys are almost all tanks, but they gain a lot more than just protection. They gain defense, they gain health. Some of them gain offense, which is also important in their kits. So lots and lots of benefit to taking these guys to relics as well. All right, guys, that'll pretty much wrap things up for today. Hopefully you got something beneficial out of today's video. If you did and you liked what you saw, I appreciate if you gave me a thumbs up. Also, if you want to catch more content that I'm putting out, make sure you guys subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss anything in the future. Last but not least, if you would like to check out our live GAC matches, you're welcome to join us over on Twitch and or Discord for further information. I'll have the links to both of those in the description below. All right, everybody. Catch you next time.